Happy Wednesday. Although I'm not actually recording this on Wednesday, but you'll see this Wednesday. I am on location with some friends in Door County, and I'm continuing my series that I started when I did the author spotlight. Although a little twist today because it's me, an author, and a photographer you'll be meeting shortly. These are good buddies of mine. And we have a very special interviewer that's going to kick this off so I can kind of be part of our two-person panel.
Hello.
Take it away, interviewer.
Yeah. So here's what I'm curious about to start off. How do you two know each other, and like what's kind of your relationship with each
Well,
other?
how many years has it been?
Holy cow, 20. Yeah. Well, wait. 8 years at Tricept and 9 years at JCI, and
Yeah.
now almost 5 years for me.
In our respective companies.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it's over 20 years. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been friends for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Have you done, like, obviously you are friends, as you just said, but have you collaborated on creative projects at all?
That's a great question. I think, and you need to add in here, there's been several projects, like from a work creative standpoint, because we're both, designers. We've like, well, the thing that always comes to mind is like the work that we did on that refrigeration project for Johnson Controls. Like,
Yeah, I don't even know if that saw the light of day, but it was like really
did.
fun because we did it from scratch. We kind of concepted up some stuff. We brainstormed together. We did some sketches and wireframes.
Well, and we were really good 1-2 punch on that because you were really speedy at doing like prototyping and wireframing, and I was doing like graphical design. So like, though that project was like,
yeah,
really like the 1-2 punch.
I don't know. I think in terms of non-work stuff, I can't think of anything huge. But I mean, like, there's even like as we're going to talk about Mike's photography, there's some overlap there with potentially with some stuff I'm doing where we're going to maybe use some of Mike's photography.
I mean, you've asked a couple times, like I've given you well, you
and
wrote a blog post just recently that you used one of my photographs.
Yes, and you're also a that's funny. You're going to see that, folks. I'm not going to change it. You're going to see if we make hand gestures, it's going to do weird crap. No, it's not going to. But anyway, who cares? We're having fun. Yes, and Mike was actually a who we haven't formally introduced you yet because we have a terrible interviewer.
Yeah.
But
well, he's
this is Mike Kornacki.
He's okay.
They found me.
Yeah, we found him on the
woods.
He's but he's harmless. We've come to realize. Also, I was going to say that you also have been a beta reader for my books.
I have, yeah.
And I still say to this day he's the Gamma Trina #1 fan because he's one of the only people I know that's read them multiple times.
I'm curious, like, with just it sounds like you both have collaborated professionally, collaborated or talked about collaborating in the future. How important generally is, like, Mike, with your photography work, how important is collaboration? Is there a level of collaboration in what you do, and how does that impact things?
Photography is kind of tough, like collaboration. So I'm behind the camera. And I have a style, and I've kind of come into my own style recently. Like I'm really leaning into it. So it's more of a kind of like a one-man kind of show. However, my daughter right now, she's 19, she's in college, and she's going to college for graphic design and photography. So she has a photography class this year, and I would go out with her on assignments, and I would kind of participate in the assignment. So like, were we collaborating on that? Not necessarily, but we were doing the same thing, and we were just kind of bringing our own perspective to those things. And we just had a ball just kind of sharing our photographs back and forth with each other. Like, hey, I saw this thing. This is how I shot it. And she would be like, well, this is how I saw it, and this is how I shot it. So like
It's collaboration.
it's collaboration in the fact that we're sharing the experience, but not necessarily like we're mapping out the whole photo and taking one photo and saying both of us did this. So
What about in other parts of the process of photo making, like with sharing or distributing,
Well-
editing? Do you involve other people in any of that?
so like editing and sharing and stuff like that, no, that's kind of like all me. But like I'm entering a world right now where I'm kind of trying to forge new territory because I'm trying to actually get a printing partner so I can start selling some prints of the photos that I've taken. And I think that's going to be what I'm finding out. I think it's going to be a very collaborative thing because I'm going to work with some local Milwaukee printers. So I can do like the quality checks and the press checks and stuff like that. So I know that if anyone buys a print from me, it is up to the standard that I want it to be. Because like I was looking at like other things like just like online, like Redbubble would do like direct print to sale kind of stuff where they just print it and send it out for you. But there's no quality check on that. So like I think there's going to be a more of a really like a working relationship with local printers that's going to help what I want to achieve with that.
Well, and how about you, Steve? Do you have any level of collaboration in the bookmaking work that you do?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. One, I mean, it's just bouncing off. I mean, I guess the first part's kind of informal, but you're bouncing off ideas. Like some of the, like I got some of the people that have read my stuff that now, like I'm working on my 4th book. People know that now. And I've actually bounced ideas off some people that don't mind spoilers. So they can kind of just tell them I'm thinking where I'm heading this. And they've given me food for thought on like, oh, maybe have you thought about this? And it's actually fundamentally changed some of the stuff that I was going to do. So that's a collaborative process. Obviously, you know, with the book cover and the artwork and stuff, there's a collaborative process to make sure it lines up with the material you're writing. And I think those are the two that come to mind. And then just, yeah, getting feedback. I mean, I guess it's collaborative to have people read your books and give you feedback, the editor, all that stuff. I've worked with editors and stuff. So,
well, and even you have someone who does the audiobook.
absolutely. Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, because Megan, who does my audiobooks, is very collaborative because I worked out like a pronunciation guide and like a personality guide, and then we talk back and forth about that, and she'd send me segments and we kind of figure out like the right tone for it all. So,
And she's
for
working
sure.
on that Boston accent, so it'll be like perfect.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because Boston accents are critical.
I'm interested in how your work as a designer for both of you influences the creative pursuits that you take on,
That's a great question.
and vice versa as well. But like, let's start with
You know, I want. That's a great. Yeah, I don't even remember. I was like talking about that before. So this is off the cuff, but off the cuff, we all have them.
Good job, interviewer.
Yeah, thanks for
Cuffs.
pointing out the cuffs. Cuffs are off. That's not an expression, is it? I think the fact that it's iterative probably is like part of it. It's like
That's good.
it's like a designer is iterative. Like I don't talk about it a lot on my videos, but I'm a web designer turned user experience designer, and things I've done in my career like wireframing, sketching out, and all the way to designing out experiences, whether they're websites, they're like things on products like screens and that. But that's a very iterative thing. You start off, you build upon it, you get feedback, you build upon it. That's sort of the writing process. It's like I write a very rough draft that kind of sucks. I tend to hate because it's like I talked about in last week's video, because it just feels very rough. But then I'll iterate on it, and then I'll sooner than later, after maybe a couple rounds of it, I'll get people looking at it, and then kind of. So yeah, it's the same. It's kind of, you don't just throw it over though. It's not like a.
Well, and like that is 100% a design process.
Yeah.
Like I remember like even like way back in the day when you were doing like some of the design work for some of our travel partners at Tricep Solutions, you went through
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 iterations on something until you boil it down to like the essential design, not only from an aesthetic standpoint, but from a usable standpoint as
Right.
well. Yeah.
What does that look like for photography?
So I think it's way different for photography. Like I don't use, well, that's not true. I do use an iterative process. Like I will look at things. I will go out at certain times of the day, or I'll go to the same spot over and over again, looking for like different light to influence the photo, or the mood I'm looking for. The great thing about like the direction I've been going with my photography now is I got a newer camera. So like I'm using Fuji that uses like these, they're called recipes, and they even though it's a digital photo, it really mirrors like film stock kind of, it simulates that. And so like it depends on what I'm trying to do with something, but I want a certain type of film look. Like a Kodachrome is like one of my favorite films of all time. It just has a quality to it. So I'll bake that recipe into what I'm doing to get that quality of shot. So iteratively, yeah, that kind of happens. But the other thing that I learned is composition. Like graphic design, you have to compose a screen for whatever you're working on, a website, an application, you know, something that somebody's going to use. And it has to be composed in a way that they know where things are. But it also has to have some sort of aesthetic composition where it's, you know, this is so cheesy, but user experience is ease of use, usability, and a joy to use. And I always hate that third one, because like if your job is to do something,
you're not going to enjoy using this utilitarian tool.
It's so good. I love using this, but it doesn't get in your way.
Right. That's joy in that, because you get to do your job and move on.
In photography, the joy actually comes in. You have to, in composition, strike a chord with somebody to say it hits a nerve, right? It's either it gives them some sort of nostalgic feeling, or it gives them some sort of feeling like, man, I want to see that. I haven't been there, but I want to go there. Or it gives them some sort of pause, like they stop and look at it and go, dang, what is that? Like, so composition is really, really vital to photography, and it is vital to graphic design in a way. So
it's kind of a different topic, but I'm interested in the idea of influence. And I think that both of you look at and read and consume things that probably influence you. But I think I'm even more interested in the idea of who would you ideally, you know, other people, other creators, who would you want to be kind of like, you know, spoken in the same breath as you as a creator?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, that's classic.
It can be someone who influences you, or just somebody who's like, you know, stature of creativity you would want to be held in parallel with, and kind of, you know, not compared with, but like kind of held on the same platform as.
I feel like what you're not asking in my case is like authors that I'm particularly inspired by. That's what I keep thinking of. I mean, obviously one of my favorite authors I've mentioned many times is Roger Zelazny, who like I actually like, there was certain aspects of his Amber series that inspired me enough to start this whole thing. But I mean, he's like a 60s and 70s writer, and then he passed away like 20 years ago, but I don't know that I'll ever get to his level.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. That's a great question. And I'm meeting a bunch of authors that like are kind of further along the chain than I am on this whole self-publishing thing. That, boy, if I could, I mean, they're not necessarily like, you know, household names, and they might never be. I certainly don't plan to be, but I still kind of like, boy, yeah. I mean, they seem like they're going down the same road as me, and they're figuring it out. It seems like it's working for them.
If you could, you know, famous, not famous, I would even say like not writers. Like if there were,
yeah,
that's what.
Yeah.
Who would you want on your platform with
Not
you?
Elon Musk.
I don't blame you there. Well, he could be if you were just stealing things.
Yeah, it's true. If I like
buying them out from underneath, if you were rich.
Yeah, just like AI, like Amber Chronicles or something. I have to think about this one. I'm gonna let Mike go.
Take a minute, yeah.
See how he
So
answers.
I follow like so many photographers on Instagram. I curate the crap out of my algorithm to make sure that I'm just seeing the stuff that I want to see on Instagram. It's work, but I do it. And there's several like Milwaukee photographers. Like my photography, I always think I'm good. I'm all right, but I have such imposter syndrome when it comes to it that like I suffer from comparison all the time. So like Nate Vermhoff from Milwaukee is like he does Milwaukee such a service. They actually hired like Top Chef, that show. They hired him to do the drone work of Milwaukee for that show and all the B-roll that they shot. He's fantastic. There's this guy who goes by the handle. I don't know his name, but he's Breaking the Law Man, who's also a photographer who he's connected in the city somehow, and I don't know how, but he's gotten tours of like the couture while they're still building it, and he's gone up into the top floors and shot photos outside of it, and he's another drone kind of photographer and stuff like that. But like the people who paint are, I think, one of the best cities in the world, who paint the city in a way that I like to see it, are influential. And then like if you go like if you're talking about like recently famous like photographers, like one guy I've followed for a long time is Peter McKinnon. I mean, that guy has gone from like basically like the pocket camera photography to wedding photographer to just like a world-renowned photographer, digital, film, and now he's like moving into this like film camera, still film, not like video film, but like still film cameras, and he has crushed every aspect of photography every time he picks up a camera. And it's like I always look to him as like, I don't think I'll ever be spoken in the same breath as him, but even to have a nod to like, hey, you know, that's kind of like what he would, if he came to Milwaukee, he might shoot something like that. That would be amazing.
For you longtime Milwaukee residents, we could be talking to the next Mike Kornacki as well.
The question that I have for you, Mike, just you talking about Milwaukee, like why, one thing that I get from seeing what you're producing is that sense of place is very important to you. Why?
Well, so I grew up in Milwaukee. I grew up as a kid taking the bus from South Milwaukee down to downtown and going to like the Grand Avenue when I was a kid, where, you know, there was a shopping mall in the middle of downtown. My mom and her twin sister used to take me and my sister and my cousins downtown all the time because they never wanted us, they always wanted us to be connected with our city, because like they had this tremendous pride in our city. And like that always like inspired me as a younger person. And then Milwaukee kind of went through this transition, and it started decaying a little bit. We had some shitty mayors. We had some people who didn't give a shit about the city, and it was corrupt in a way. You know, we had the whole like pension scandal stuff, and like there was a moment in my life when like early on when like Angela and I got married where we were talking about leaving the city because it felt like it was rotting underneath our feet. And I mean, I've been married now 25 years, so this was a while ago, right? But the thing that was most inspiring to me is that it wasn't the politicians, it wasn't anything other than the citizens themselves who took the city back and like revitalized the city. And there was such an outpouring of love to the city. One of the first neighborhoods, you live there, one of the first neighborhoods that really embraced like we need Milwaukee back was Bayview. Like, and you saw this outpouring from the community to revitalize that neighborhood. That neighborhood was falling apart. But then you go to Bronzeville and you go to River West and you go to the Lower East Side is so different. And like all of these places where the citizens rose up and said, we need to rescue the city. It made me re-fall in love with the city, and it made me want to pay homage to my favorite place on the planet.
It's awesome.
What about you? Like, obviously, what you're doing is creating universes. Like, why is a sense of place important for you in the universe that you're creating?
It's funny. I got
great
asked a similar question about Milwaukee and its influence from that all-author interview I did the other day. And obviously, Milwaukee is not a huge influence on what I write because it's in the future and it's in the solar system. But I do. I mean, I'm not gonna. Mike said a lot of great things about Milwaukee, and I 100% agree. It's like just an awesome place to live, and I think that just inherently fuels my creativity. It's just I just think about how, like, you know, all the years I biked to work, like on a really cool trail that like is super close to my house and spit me out downtown where I worked.
Heck yeah.
And now, I mean, I run and I do, like, and there's a park right next to my house, and all the times I thought about like what I was gonna write and came up with ideas doing that, or just going to a coffee shop. I don't know. Milwaukee is like, I've said to somebody recently that it's like, it's got the appeal of a big city, but it feels like a small city, and it's just awesome, and it inspires me in that regard.
Like how many times have you and I talked about like on your bike ride when we were working down at Johnson Controls downtown, where you were just in your own head and you didn't even realize you were like on the bike ride because you were just thinking of these ideas for like writing and just thinking of this like you were building like worlds in your head, and the city provided that solace of you just getting onto the Oak Leaf Trail, which it goes right through some of the busiest parts of downtown, but it is stone quiet on that trail.
To my left when I got to work, and on my right when I went back, there's a beautiful Lake Michigan. I don't know. It's just an inspiring place.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of seeped into my creative process.
But I guess that's great. But I'm kind of wondering specifically about. I don't mean that's dismissive.
The interview is very dismissive right now.
I totally get that, but I mean more specifically, how does sense of place play into the worlds that you've created?
What's interesting? You know what's interesting?
I may have missaid it.
No, but that's
my
good, because
is my
the first trilogy, the trilogy I wrote, there's almost an absence of that, because like she's on the run and she's never really staying any one place, and the world is kind of big and busy and loud, so she doesn't have but she wants that. That's like her whole motivation in the book, is to find somewhere to call home with the person she loves. And the next series is going to kind of flip that, where they found that, and then it's not necessarily like she's missing out on like it's like too serene her life. But anyway, I mean, it's kind of like, I guess that's kind of the core of the first trilogy, is that she's looking for a place to call home, and she's going around all these foreign places and domed cities, and she just wants somewhere that has real grass and she can live.
So as your quote unquote number one fan, I'm gonna add to that. I think I agree with some of that. But in the first trilogy, because you gave me the sneak peek of the outline of the next book.
Yes, 2 people have seen it. He's one of them.
But the first trilogy, her sense of home is the people. It's not the places, it's the people. And like she fights hard for that sense of home.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have an anchor, right?
Yeah.
Her anchor is not a place, it's the people. And like that to me was super powerful in those books, that she fought tooth and nail to save her home, even though it wasn't in a single spot. It was the people around her.
There's this expression I made up: home is where the heart is. And I think that sums it up.
Right. Quote unquote Steve Grobschmidt.